So vertex form, we still can have all of our shifts and movements that we had before. But here's the thing. Now, these two values, the value in the parentheses and the value out here at the end, can give us the vertex. Here's the one thing that we have to watch for, though, that I would suggest making a note of. This H value, it's the opposite. So here's what I mean by that. Whatever value you see inside the parentheses, when you go to find your vertex, you flip the sign on it. That's the only thing I got to be careful of. So for instance, before I ever type number 1 in my calculator, I take the opposite of -3, but I keep the 1 on the outside. That's my vertex. I can even prove it. So I bust out my calculator, because again, that's going to be my easiest way of getting stuff done. Ooh, people are doing crazy stuff in here. Okay. Once I get to y equals, I'm going to hit clear. I want this to be free and open. And as we've mentioned before, I'm just going to type exactly what I see. So I got my parenthesis. Again, here is my x, okay, right next to the alpha. -3, not -3. Minus, close my parenthesis, and this is my squared. Again, I know it says x squared, but it's just going to give me the squared part. It's not going to do anything else. And then +1. As long as these look the same, I'm in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead. I like to look at the picture first, then we can kind of see. And I notice something when the picture comes up before I ever start anything else. I notice if I start from the middle here at the origin, I've got to go right and I've got to go up to get to that parabola. Thank you. So what we're going to do here is we're going to end up getting to our chart like we always do. Second graph. And let's see if we get 3, 1 in the middle of my chart. If we see what we've been looking for the past 2 days. Do I see the same number? 2, 2, 5, 5, 10, 10. I see all my pairs there. So yeah, it works. So, thank you. So, what we're going to do is we've got our vertex. We know that goes in the middle of our chart every time. That's how this works. And then we're just going to use the chart. Again, I don't have to do any calculating or nothing. I'm going to do 2 values above my vertex. And I'm going to do 2 values below. And as we've seen over and over with these, I should see those 2 pairs that match up. And if I do, I've done everything right. And all I've got to do now is graph my points. So as we've mentioned, I'm just going to start with my top one here. So we're going to go right 1, because there's my 1 on x, and up 5. I'm going to go right 2, and up 2. Right 3 and up 1. Right 4 and up 2. And right 5 and up 5. And it's that same shape that we keep seeing over and over. Kind of looks like a V with a little bit of curve to it. But we want our graph to be more curved and not V. So all I've had to do here is get that set. And if I needed to find my domain, my range, my intercepts, anything like that, I can do that. So, but for now, that's all I need, because everything else I've got in my last part of the notes. So, let's take a peek at 2. But before we type it in, anybody tell me what's the vertex going to be on number 2? Okay. -2, -4. It's the opposite of what's in the parentheses. The opposite of positive 2 is -2. And we keep whatever's out here. Okay, so maybe I should even write, hang on a second here. Because sometimes I have people on this plus k on the end say, oh, so what you're telling me is that number is always going to be positive because it says plus. No.
Incorrect.
That plus means you just keep whatever sign is out there. So if it's a negative, it stays negative. If it's positive, it stays positive. So, once I get that, pretty confident that's going to be my center point, but let's find out. So we go to y equals, again, clear if something's there. Get my parentheses in. Again, my squared is over here, just kind of kitty corner from the 7. -4, not negative. So I look, we're kind of setting us up for future reference here. We're like, okay, we moved left and we moved down. Interesting. So let's get to the main point here, though. If I get -2, -4 in the middle here, it showed up, that's a good sign. Do I see same numbers paired up above and below? And I do. So I did it right. That's my confirmation. My pairs are there, just like they're supposed to be. And so now, as long as I can plot those those 5 numbers, those 5 ordered pairs, I'm good. X is negative, I go left 4, I don't go up or down any. I go left 3, I go down 3. I go left 2, I go down 4. I go left 1 and down 3. And I don't go anywhere. There's that shape again. Again, we're looking for curve here, not necessarily a V. And we're ready to go. So again, the calculator will be your best friend on this once you know that vertex value, because that's all we're really going to need. Everything else is going to match up. And so now we should be able to kind of whip through some of these, and without even doing the graph or putting it in the calculator, do the vertex just from this info. So on number 3, what would my vertex be? Okay, 24, change the sign. -60, thank goodness we don't have to graph that. That'd be a mess. Okay, what about number 4? -43, change your sign. -18, keep it. Ooh, now come the twists. Anybody brave enough to give number 5 a go? If there's no parentheses, I'll rewrite it for you a different way, if that's something that would help on the thought process. Since there's no parentheses this time, that first value, my h value, is going to be 0. Because that's outside the parentheses, just like this k value is. So if I don't see parentheses, the first number is going to be 0. If, though, I have parentheses and there's nothing out here, that's like having a plus 0 on the end. So we still change the sign inside the parentheses. But then the 0 on the outside is going to stay the same. Those are all the possible options that you can run into on these. So, with that in mind, we won't put this too far away, but with that being the only change, I think we can probably do most of this without the notes, at least for now. So, in the practice, okay, first part is just like examples 3 through 6. You're just going through, you're going to do the opposite of what's inside and keep what's outside. You're like, okay, that's not bad. I can handle this. This is simple. But then I start throwing some twists in. So you're like, well, wait a minute. How the heck am I supposed to do this? Hardy gave me a graph, but then it says write the equation. How am I supposed to do this? Okay, so what I'm going to do here at the start is we're going to write, okay, the formula up here. And just a reminder to us that the vertex is this thing called H and K. So for me to be able to get the equation, I need to know what A, H, and K all are. Well, H and K is not going to be a problem because H and K is just saying, hey, you need to find where the vertex is. So, my vertex here looks like it is at -2, 3. So, for that part of my equation, remember, this is the opposite of H. So if H is -2, this is going to be +2. So whatever this is, we flip the sign. But whatever's out here, we put in. Now here's the part that gets a little more interesting because we haven't talked about it yet. Okay, what's this A thing? Oh, the stretch. Okay, so how do I do the stretch? I'm going to start from here, and if I start to follow my parabola, I'm going to follow it until I find the next points that are going right through the crosshairs of my graph. And then the only question becomes, how far did I have to go up to get there? So I'm like, up 1. I had to go up 2 to get there. So my A value ends up being 2. If I only had to go up 1, my A value would be 1. If I went down 1, it'd be -1. So when you're doing those, and I'm not going to do the next one in its entirety, but I will put those next 2 dots on there to kind of give you some help on finding where that A value is going to be. But we got to play with this a bit, because these are going to pop up now and then. It's just using different applications of what we've learned. So, one more type like this, and we'll play a little on the back too here in a moment. Yeah. What's that? For this one? I will take a peek in a minute and see what's going on there. That's kind of strange. I don't know if I missed it or what happened here. So create a possible equation that is the vertex of 5, 9 and has a minimum. It opens up. Okay. So all I got to do here, change the sign. -5 plus 9. That's it. You're changing your h, you're putting in your k. You are done and you are ready to go. And I think what may have happened down on my answer key down below is that when I did it, I thought I'd put them all in with ones. So let me give you a heads up on this. That's a good point you made. There should be 2's in front of both of these. So I apologize for my mishap on that. Actually, any of the, yeah. Oops, except I put it on the wrong one, didn't I? Oh, Hardy. Even Hardy makes the boo-boos now and then. It does happen. It does. So, but yeah, those will both have 2. Probably wouldn't do that on a quiz, though. Just try and put that out there. Like, oh my gosh, Hardy, do these ever go away? No. No, they do not. So, I'm going to go past these this time because we chatted these on the last sheet that we did like this. Did the setup again, so go back and check that if you didn't. Or if you get stuck, have a chat with me, we'll get you set up. But I do want to come back to our radical stuff again and kind of remind us how this works. So I'm going to jump down to number 5 because it kind of gets us the best of all worlds. We might take a look at 6. We'll see. So here, when we're adding these, the only way I can add these up is if these radicals are the same. Well, they're not right now. So here comes my buddy, my list from before. We put this on the last sheet. We also have it in your notes from last unit. And so I'm looking at these. And as we're doing, hi. No, I do not. Uh-huh. So I'm trying to see if this 54 breaks down. So I grab my calculator, and I'm like, okay, I got to get myself out of here. Second mode will clear me out. And I'm going to start dividing these numbers in until I hopefully find one. Maybe. It's 9. There it is, 9 and 6. But again, only the perfect one gets out from under the radical, okay? So, what's that give me? Here, that gives me this 3 that's on the outside, and then 3 times the square root of 6. But these two numbers that are on the outside can hang out together. They can be multiplied. And the reason that's important to see is now these are the same. Now they're like terms. So negative 3 plus 9 is 6 because I can add those together now and just leave my other radical alone. So these first two up here, you're just going to do the breakdown like we did here. You're going to be done. When you're dealing with number 6, let's say, though, and that is a multiplication dot there in the middle, which means we're going to multiply those two numbers together first. Multiply the insides, multiply the outsides. Right away, we're going to get our number that works. Because 200 would be 102, and then I'm leaving you at that point to finish it off based on some of the things that we've done before. And then last thing, I'm going to do number 8 with you. When you're trying to solve these, your first job is to get your radical alone. So we're going to do the opposite of whatever's being done to it. In this case, that'd be to divide by 7. Over here, to be something a little different. But once that radical is by itself on a side, what's the opposite of square rooting something? It's the first part of square rooted, kind of. So we're going to square it. Because the squared is going to cancel that out. So do not square the stuff underneath the radical. It just got the radical to go away on this side. But on this side, we do have to square things. And now I just got a one-step equation left, which should not be too rough to handle. Okay? So again, keep that practice going. Go back to your notes from Unit 9 if you need to for the breakdown, or if you've done these, hopefully that gets you a start on them. But again, use the key as a guide, not just to copy the answers down to hurry. That will not help you on the quiz. But if you're checking as you go and asking some questions as you go, that's a good route to go with these. So either with that,